Assalamu alaikum everyone. We are now starting our program with the recitation of a few verses of Holy Quran. I would like to request Muhammad Hanzala Faruqi to please come on the stage for the recitation of Surah Ar-Rahman. Furthermore, a formal invite to Saad Ahmed for translation of the said verses of Holy Quran. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم خلق الإنسان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان
I seek refuge with Allah from Satan, the outcast. Starting with the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Created man from clay like pottery, and he created the jinn from smokeless flame of fire. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? He is Lord of two sunrises and Lord of two sunsets. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? He released the two seas meeting side by side. Between them is a barrier, so neither of them transgresses. So which of the favor of your Lord would you deny? From both of them emerge pearl and coral. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? And to him belong the ships with sails elevated in the sea like mountains. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? Everyone upon the earth will perish, and there will remain the face of your Lord, honor of majesty and honor. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? Whoever is within the heavens and earth asks him. Every day he is bringing about a matter. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny?
صدق الله العظيم.
Ladies and gentlemen,
our esteemed ICAP members,
and the future chartered accountants.
Welcome to the CS Students Conference 2023, organized by the Northern Region Committee of ICAP.
my name is Muqaddas Awan and I'm an audit trainee at Rizwan Company & Co. Lahore.
this is Umar Jamal, a CA finalist and an audit associate at BDO Lahore.
Myself, Iman Gulbat, an audit associate at Naveez Zafar Ishfaq Jafri & Co.
At your service, Muhammad Mazullah Khan, an audit associate from PwC A. Ferguson, Lahore.
And we are super thrilled to be your masters of ceremony for this magnificent event.
Today, we have an evening packed with fantabulous keynotes,
Informative panel discussions followed by a Q&A session.
Along with some exciting giveaways and a surprise for you at the end of the event.
So sit back, relax, and hold on to your seats because you are about to witness a true, enlightening, and exciting event ahead.
because remember the famous saying, Wu Ji Bi Fa, which means all work and no fun makes you dull.
So please, a huge round of applause for yourself to show some energy and enthusiasm.
We are not only blessed to have the presence of our auspicious members,
But we also have the glorious opportunity to mix and mingle with our delegates from Institute of Sri Lanka. So please put a huge round of applause for them. Sadhrain Palaganamu.
Not that all, everyone. We also have members from Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nepal. So give it up for Nepal. Namaskar. Dhirai Swagate.
Last but not the least, we have with us our council members, NRC members, former President ICAP, and the Vice President of ICAP. Please give them a huge round of applause.
thank you all for joining us and making this event a memorable one.
Now, I would like to request our organizers and our members of Student Affairs Committee to please join us on the stage.
Mr. Numan and Mr. Mushtaq, please join us on the podium.
And I would like to request you all to please stand up on your seats for the national anthem.
Before we formally commence our program, may I request 5 minutes silence to reflect on the current situation of Palestine.
नहीं है ना उम्मीद इकबाल अपनी कश्ते विरां से जरा नम हो ये मिट्टी बहुत जरखेज है साकी.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to embark on a journey into the future. A future intertwined with technology, innovation, and the ever evolving world of artificial intelligence.
Today we are not just here to crunch numbers. We are here to unravel the secrets of financial success, share insights, and connect with some of the brightest minds in the world of finance and technology.
Our theme for today is embracing artificial intelligence. We are not just talking about adapting, we are talking about welcoming, embracing, and incorporating artificial intelligence into the very fabric of accounting profession.
So, our beloved audience, hold on to your seats because we have an incredible lineup of speakers, panel discussions, and interactive sessions designed to equip you with the tools you need to conquer the financial world.
Absolutely, Mas. And who is better to guide us through this transformative journey than the brilliant minds gathered here today?
Wait, Iman. Have you told them about the surprise?
No, I almost forgot.
Thank God I didn't, because this surprise is open for everyone embracing this fabulous event.
After each session, we'll be holding a surprise quiz. And to win, you must listen carefully.
Because you will be asked questions relevant to the keynotes and panel discussions.
Top 5 speakers answering correctly and the fastest will be handed over the giveaways.
So, are you ready? Please show some energy. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's kick off this incredible conference. Our stage is about to be graced by a female leading chartered accountant for the opening remarks. With years of experience and a wealth of knowledge, Miss Amara Gondal is here to enlighten us on the embracing artificial intelligence, a journey towards innovation and transformation.
Ms. Amara Gondal started her career from KPMG and played a pivotal role in the development of financial sector of Pakistan. She is certified director by SACP and currently working as Chief Financial Officer of Price. She becomes the first female elected member of the Northern Regional Committee of ICAP, mandated with the highest number of votes. She is none other than the chairperson of NRC.
So, with a big round of applause, help us welcome the charismatic, the energetic, the majestic Miss Samara Gondal.
Thank you, Maz and Iman, for such a wonderful introduction. I didn't even know about myself. And Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. This is my honor to welcome distinguished guest speakers, our delegates from Sri Lanka and Nepal, and a warm welcome to our Vice President, Asad Feroz, former President, Council members, NRC members. And I'm extremely delighted to have you all here and see the excitement and young energies in this hall. Dear young aspiring professionals, you are our future. And I am feeling almost nostalgic because this is reminding me of my time of articles when we were young and we used to have that trust of gaining knowledge. And I'm sure that all of you would be having the same feelings. And when we are particularly talking about a topic which is new to all of us. So the entire world of knowledge has been brought to your doors. So this is only you have to unlock it. Over the past few years, we have seen a huge expansion in the use of digital technology across society and across the economy. And this has affected all of us in some way, whether we are shopping online or listening to music, streaming a film, or engaging with friends or colleagues in social media. Our lives have been transformed by remarkable innovation and technological advancements. And artificial intelligence is increasingly at the heart of those all innovative technologies. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are growing very rapidly in complexity, sophistication, and importance for society, the economy as a whole, and financial sector and accounting profession in particular. AI is already embedded in many of the things that we use every day, from mobile phones and tablets to online shopping platforms. It forms the core of many of the technologies that are becoming increasingly familiar, such as biometric devices or autonomous vehicles. And this is likely to increase as smaller and smarter devices become more widely used. And this is going to be embedded not only in our workplace, but everyday life of us. So this is something very important, that we acquire knowledge, we get in this technology-driven future. And to tell you, though some AI systems and processes are being used today across the financial sector to bring benefits to the consumers, to firms, and to the financial system as a whole. AI-driven online platforms may, for example, help customers manage their money and savings more effectively. And when all these things are happening, our industry, how manufacturing is being done, and how businesses are being undertaken. So profession, auditing, compliance, and giving you, for example, you are going to take up a CFO position and all that. If you are not abreast with all these advancements and all these future technologies that are changing the pace very rapidly, no wonder we will be lagging behind. And the competition is very fast and very cruel, I must say, because these technologies are eating away many of the jobs, many of the businesses. Even when we talk about banks, that concept is changing very fast. Now there is another concept of digital banks we have. And similarly, many of the industries may wipe out, many of the companies may wipe out. And for our profession, this is something very important, that today we stand, we take a breath, and we start acquiring knowledge in all the aspects that we just highlighted. While AI has clear benefits in an increasingly data-driven economy, there are risks and challenges. And the impact of those benefits and risks will be felt at different paces and different depths at technological, social, corporate, and systematic level. It's useful to think of the risks and challenges in the hierarchical way, starting with those that may become apparent at the data level and building up to the level of models trained on those data. Then widening to the level of the corporates, the firm level, and finally up to the level of financial system as a whole. Overlaying these are the regulatory as well as legal challenges as well that will be posed. We need to address those today in order to shape our future tomorrow more effectively and coming at the top in the competition. So this event has been planned for you in order, this is, although this is already very late because the world or the globe has changed so fast, and particularly after COVID, those effects have been seen very deeply, and those are going to be seen very rapidly as well. But this is nonetheless, late. There is, better be there than never. So let's sit together, brainstorm. You are among us the top minds of the finance sector and the technologies. Do get benefit from them. Discuss. You will have the opportunity to put up questions. We have arranged Noman and other MOCs will be explaining in more detail. You will have the opportunity to put up your question to the moderator, to the panelists and the speakers. And we have 2 breaks as well. You will have an opportunity to interact with each other, with the speakers. So do grab those opportunities, discuss this topic today so that Chartered Accountants is a fraternity. We project to the world that we are not local, we are global. Thank you very much and wish you best of luck with this event today.
To become competitive, to become competent, to become successful, AI is instrumental for all. Thank you very much, Ms. Amara Gondal, for sharing your insights today. A big round of applause for her.
Today, the discussions, keynotes, and our insights will be relating to artificial intelligence. So, Maz, why not share some facts about artificial intelligence with our dear audience?
Sure. Do you know the enigma broken with the artificial intelligence was in mere 1942?
Testing for machine intelligence was in 1950.
AI industrial robot was developed in 1961.
First chatbot Eliza was made in 1964.
First AI robot was made in 1969.
30 years into artificial intelligence and so much development. This is the moment for us to think what heights the world has achieved and where we stand as a nation.
Thankfully, we have an auspicious personality with us to discuss how artificial intelligence has been impacting the industry in the 21st century. So let's have Mr. Adnan Yusuf Kazi on stage for a powerful keynote on artificial intelligence in Industry 4.0, which will be about taking insights into the global trends, challenges, and the future direction.
Not only auspicious, but also prosperous, as he holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in CS and several specializations in the field of business analytics and sales. He is not only a global chief operating officer at 10x, but also he has over 18 years of professional experience working with top multinational companies and Fortune 500 companies, including Teradata, IBM, NCR, and TRG. Not only this, but he has also led high impact technology projects for customers in North America, Bangladesh, United Kingdom, and Pakistan.
So please, in your full support, put your hands together and give a thunderous welcome to Mr. Adnan Yusuf Kazi.
Hello, hello. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All right, G. Am I audible right at the back as well? Great, thank you. Yeah, so the topic for the keynote is that, artificial intelligence in the age of Industry 4.0. So as a keynote speaker, it's my duty to, first of all, break the problem statement into 2 parts. One is AI, obviously, which is the topic of the conference. But the other thing is Industry 4.0, because I would presume and assume safely that many people don't know what 4.0 exactly is. So we'll first break down the problem into 2 categories, and once we are able to solve those 2 different equations, then obviously we'll get into the more details of what it's all about, right? Sabse pehle to we need to understand what AI is, right? So artificial intelligence, I mean, I've spent like last 18 years in data, AI, machine learning globally. We're working extensively in the US as well. And one thing that I've seen is that, many people are making very complex definitions of what AI is. To me, it's very, very simple to be honest. As human beings, alhamdulillah, we have been blessed by Allah with many traits, like we can see and we can save information, what we see in our brains. We can listen to people and we can understand what they're saying. We can store that information as well. And as and when required, we can then bring that information out of our brains and then make intelligent decisions, right? We can comprehend, we can digest, we can understand, we can make different decisions which are very complex. So we can run many mathematical calculations right in the neural networks in our natural intelligence, which is not artificial intelligence, by the way. And then we can make complex decisions very easily, right? So if I'm driving a car and I see there's a congestion out there, I can easily decide, okay, I can take a right turn, I can avoid this congestion, I can make it to the Pearl Continental Hotel maybe 15 minutes before if I would have taken the other route, which was pretty congested and clogged up. So this basic decision, trust me, there are billions of neurons working in my brain for this basic decision that you feel it's basic, actually it's not basic, right? So if you try to instill these qualities in machines, we can safely say that these machines are getting artificially intelligent. So that's what AI is, nothing more complex than that. Obviously, there's a lot of math, stat, and analysis behind that. But basically, it's instilling the human traits, which I just talked about a few seconds ago, into the machines. We can safely say that the machines are getting artificially intelligent, and that's what AI is. So for instance, let's take an example of an ATM machine. You're standing in front of an ATM machine. You punch in the card, and the camera recognizes you with a facial recognition algorithm. Okay, this is Nan Kazi, customer of bank ABC, just started doing a transaction at ATM number 1234 at this location of Lahore. You know where exactly I am standing, what my face is. You can scan my thumb impression as well. So which effectively means that computer is now recognizing me. The eye of the computer is camera. The ears of the computer is the microphone, right? And the brain of the computer is basically machine learning and AI algorithms, right? So this is what basically AI is, right? Now, coming to the other part of the problem, which is equally important before we commence with the main topic, it is the Industry 4.0, right? Anybody who knows what Industry 4.0, don't mind, I'm not going to ask any question right away, but raise your hands, anybody who knows what Industry 4.0 is. Great. So less than 2% of the people, which makes the session more interesting. So Industry 4.0 is very exciting stuff. So let's go back 4 centuries. Like let's go back to 18th century. What happened was that in 18th century, it was all human capital. There were no large factories out there. People were developing manufacturing goods based on their human power, like hands and arms and elbows and everything. And they were investing human power in developing goods or manufacturing goods, right? That was 18th century, but it was the first time in the 18th century that they started doing the mass production of goods. Previously, it was not even mass production in 17th century. So it was only in the 18th century that they started doing the mass production, but they got some power from the water and steam based, plants. So that was a very basic initial mass production. That was the Industry 1.0. Here comes 19th century, when you started seeing some exciting stuff like oil and gas and electricity. So electric power plants, oil and gas powered plants, and that's where the power to manufacture goods started increasing, which effectively means that now you can do further mass production with less number of people, more efficiently, more effectively. So here is 19th century, and that's Industry 2.0. Comes Industry 3.0, where actually you now have computers. This is 19th century I'm talking about, 20th century I'm talking about, and you all know 20th century, not too far past. Computer systems coming into play, telecommunication coming into play. You see the people are talking about data analytics, and it's the early stages, very, very early stages of how machines are going to work, internet connectivity and everything. So that made factories and manufacturing plants more smarter, and that's Industry 3.0. Today, as we speak, we are in the 21st century, and here is what we officially now recognize in term as Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0, by the way, is the smartest in the history of manufacturing or any other companies that we talk about. We've got sensors, IoT, Internet of Things. You can literally plant thousands of sensors on a manufacturing plant equipment, and you start getting real-time data. You can do digital transformations. You have all those artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms in place. And then you've got, cloud computing in place. You don't even need to buy on-prem hardware software. You can send everything onto the cloud for intelligent scaling as well. All these things make these companies like Coke, Pepsi, Lay's, and whatnot smarter and smarter. based on the power of this technology, right? So this technological investment in today's manufacturing industry, or other companies for that matter, is basically what Industry 4.0 is all about. So now you understand? So AI is a bit, AI is all about running mathematical calculations, neural networks and everything, learn from how our brain works, and now using these mathematical capabilities and statistical capabilities to make good decisions in smartest of the organizations, which are already very smart based on the data they're collecting. But that data goes into these machine learning algorithms for smarter decisions, right? So sensors give you data, nothing else. AI gives you analysis, right? So if you combine those two things, then you come to the main topic, which is using AI in the Industry 4.0. So far, is it all clear? Any ambiguity? Anyone, feel free to raise your hand if you think that, I'm not being able to convey the message across what the topic is all about. All clear? Great. So now coming to the AI. We all are interacting with AI on daily basis. I talked about you going to an ATM machine, facial recognition is being done, that's AI. You are flying Emirates to Dubai on a flight, in flight, you are being the flight itself, the engine itself, the data that is being collected is humongous, and many AI mathematical calculations are being run in the flight as well for your safety. You talk about Tesla. Anybody who has not heard of Tesla? I'm sure everybody, all of you know that Tesla is the first self-driving car launched by Elon Musk in the US, and now it's pretty much everybody knows about it. I'll tell you a very interesting story. So I was in the US back in 2020, I think so, 2019, I think so. And I was literally sitting in a Tesla car with my cousin on the driving seat, and I was sitting right next to him. And all of a sudden, we were on a highway, and all of a sudden, he tried moving the car towards the right. And all of a sudden, immediately, the Tesla autopilot took over the control, moved the steering wheel back, and pushed the car back in the same lane where we were actually previously. So he told me that was actually collision avoidance. So basically, collision avoidance is based on artificial intelligence. What happened was that there was a car coming from the back, which was on the blind spot. My cousin was driving probably 65 miles an hour or so. He was not able to pick that car up, while the Tesla sensors and the machine and those all the cameras and everything in the sensors, they were able to pick that blind spot up, and they did within milliseconds, within milliseconds, they were able to run a very humongous, huge calculation that okay, the car that is being driven maybe 40 meters away behind from this particular Tesla is running at a speed of this, X kilometers per hour, X miles per hour. Our speed is this. The distance between the two cars is this. The angle of the two cars is like this degrees because that's on the other lane. So within milliseconds, even less than milliseconds, a fraction of a millisecond, the calculations were able to tell that if we take the right turn and switch the lane, it's a sure shot accident, God forbid. So as soon as the AI algorithms of Tesla calculated that it's a sure shot accident, the autopilot took over the control, superseded what the driver was doing, pushed the car back in the previous lane, and avoided the accident, contributed to the accident avoidance, alhamdulillah. So what I'm trying to say here is that nobody in this hall can literally claim that he or she has not interacted with AI. You may not know what AI is. You may not accept that artificial intelligence is actually a real thing now, and it's not just a buzzword. But trust me, I can assure you that on daily basis, ongoing basis, you are interacting with AI. So that's another thing. Now coming back to the Industry 4.0, right? So what is a smart manufacturing thing actually? I'm very much hopeful that many of you, once you get done with your articles, you'll be employed by the big companies like Pepsi, Coke, manufacturing plants, Teslas of the world. Maybe if you go abroad, you'll be employed by Unilevers of the world and everything. So all of you will have to learn what 4.0 is and what AI is, right? So just give me a glimpse of it, right? Maybe a sneak peek you can call easily. Basically, smart manufacturing is all about using the power of digital transformation to bring agility in the organization, to make the decisions faster, smarter, right? There was a time when people used to say that it's all about bigger beating the small. And you have seen, try to launch a competition of any beverage and 20 years ago, and you would have lost because your size was small. But now you've seen how startups are increasing in pace, and how startups are beating bigger companies. Like, honestly speaking, these bunch of startups that we're seeing, they're challenging companies which were formed century ago, right? So why is it happening? Because it's no more about bigger beating the small. It's actually about faster beating the slow now. So who's faster? Who's agile? And who's agile? Who is using technological advancement, adopting that into the organization's operations and whatnot, and becoming more agile, right? So SEC first, so digital transformation, agility, right? All these things, real-time decision making. Tesla example that I gave you, that was my personal example, my personal experience. It was all about real-time decision making. What is real time? Like, fraction of a millisecond is real time, right? Or maybe if you're going through a fraud detection system, you are all finance future CFOs, inshallah. If you have billion transactions, you're working for a Fortune 500 company, and you've got in a bank in the US somewhere, and you've got billion transactions to find a fraudulent transaction in. Would you go through those manually in the next 5 or 6 years? No, you will not. I still remember people come to audit our company as well, and I've seen the room is booked, the stationery is sorted, 100,000 rupees spent just on the stationery, this bunch of papers, everything being printed, people going through each and every single transaction. Things will change. This will not happen 5 years from now. This will not happen 3 years from now. In some cases, this is not even happening right when I'm speaking on the stage right now. Why? Because technology is augmenting the capability of the auditors. The technology is augmenting the capability of all the people who are analytical and making complex corporate decisions. So you're looking at 1 billion records? No. AI will look at 1 billion records, and AI will identify mathematical calculations, machine learning calculations. They will identify top 100 calculations that you as future CFOs need to focus on. So imagine you're working in a manufacturing company, and AI is helping you do the audit in a more precise manner, in a more efficient manner. Let's take another example. You know that in a manufacturing facility, health and safety is one of the biggest challenges, because if somebody dies because he or she has been electrocuted, God forbid, it's a big blow to the company, right? Reputational damage and whatnot, and loss of life, obviously. Allah Ta'ala mahfoos farmaye, Ameen. And then obviously there's another thing. You need to ensure that if there's a very complex plant, then the health and safety gear is being worn by everybody who's in the plant, right? Now imagine you have got 12,000 workers in a manufacturing plant, and you are the head of finance, let's assume. Why I keep coming back to finances? Because of ICAP, because that's the core of the conference, right? You're not head of health and safety. Head of health safety is your colleague. You are head of finance, right? If something goes wrong in the health and safety department, somebody dies because of an accident in the facility, because of the equipments and all those things, head of health and safety could get fired because he was not able to ensure the safety. But what happens to you as the CFO or head of finance? You will be responsible because it may be a direct hit to your bottom line. Why? Because there could be huge penalties to the regulator. I'm not talking of Pakistan only. I'm thinking global here, right? We've got international people here as well, right? So imagine if there's a penalty, then your skin is also in the game as well. So how to avoid those health and safety incidents through the power of AI? Let's assume there's this big hall, 12,000 people are working in a manufacturing plant, and there are 3 people who are not wearing the helmet and the safety gear, right? How long would it take a human being who's a supervisor of that particular floor of a manufacturing plant to identify those 3 people out of 12,000 people? How long? Is there a margin of error? Is there anyone who thinks that those 3 people will be picked like within milliseconds with no error at all? Anybody who can claim that? All right, let's go the other way around. Anybody who thinks that there's a high likelihood, a very great likelihood that those 3 people will not be picked by the supervisor on the floor? Raise your hands, please. There are some hands who have not been raised. Any third option in your view? Okay, great. So I would safely assume that in most of the cases, you believe that a supervisor will not be able to pick 3 people who are not wearing a helmet and safety gear. But trust me, if you have the CCTVs installed, I'm sure in this hall as well, you can see a lot of CCTVs as well. If you augment these CCTVs with AI algorithms, they can easily pick what I'm wearing, how many females in the room, how many males in the room, what is my potential age, what is the potential age of this person sitting on that couch, facial expressions, who feels suspicious, who doesn't feel suspicious, anything. If I ask these AI algorithms and I ask full continental facial cameras and all these CCTV algorithms to tell me how many people in this room are wearing gray jacket, 1 minute, 30 seconds, calculations, you'll get exactly those 5 or 10 people. And they will also tell you where they're sitting right now. I'm not saying they are doing it. They may be doing it or not. If they're listening, they would know what I'm talking about. But trust me, in manufacturing plants, CCTV cameras can do that, right? Now imagine you as head of finance or CFOs or anybody who's looking after the expenses or trying to avoid penalties, right? Financial penalties by the regulator itself. Imagine you're able to use these basic calculations and stop the health and safety violation and incidents which result because of those. It's a clear no-brainer for you. Let's go for it, right? Another example. Have you heard about digital twins? Anybody here? Digital twins? Right. You've heard about twins, obviously, right? So let's talk about digital twins, right? Digital twins is a concept. If there is a very complex furnace in a manufacturing plant, or it's a very complex machine or an equipment that creates socks, for instance, hosiery items, or a machine that creates some parts of a car like Ferrari let's take an example of Pakistan Toyota Corolla, for instance, some parts, the machine that manufacturing parts for Corolla, right? Digital twin concept is very unique, and this also enables Industry 4.0 and is powered by AI. So for instance, there's a complex plant that manufactures a particular set of parts. You want to see if that equipment is going to go out of maintenance or not. Will it disrupt or not? Will it go out of order very soon or not? So what you effectively do is you implant maybe 100 sensors on that machine. So plant does 10 things. On every step of the way in the plant, within the plant, you implant actually hundreds of sensors, IoT devices, which start getting data, and you're getting real-time streams, and you store that data, analyze that data to make real-time decisions, right? That's not enough. You run AI models and you create a virtual environment through the power of AI and through the power of this real-time decision making to actually create a digital twin of that plant. That equipment has now a virtual presence in this world in your computer screen, powered by AI, machine learning, digital transformation, data, real-time streaming, edge computing, whatever you want to call it. It may be an amalgamation of all these things, right? Now imagine that the data is being shifted real time to the digital twin, right? If there's a problem in the plant that human eye is not able to pick right away and may be able to pick 10 hours down the road, because once the smoke comes out of the machine and then you'll pick it up. But before the smoke comes out of the machine, before the problem rises, very little changes in the machine, you're able to pick those and the digital twin will start malfunctioning. So within milliseconds, you'll start getting the alarms that there's something wrong with the machine. So where is this going? This is going towards predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance is a concept that you all will be working on once you start working in the manufacturing industry or any industry, even in tech industry, car manufacturing or any other machine. So you will start getting to know through the power of digital twins, it's not a hardware, it's virtual environment. It's different from simulation. Simulation is, God forbid, there was a plane crash. Anybody has seen Sully movie here, like Tom Hanks' Sully movie? Great. So you all would know that in the last 5 minutes of the Sully movie, basically there was a simulation of what would happen in that plane that went into the Hudson River, crash landed into the Hudson River, right? But that was a simulation because real-time data of that plane was not coming to that digital twin. It was just that whatever the pilot said, whatever the people said, whatever the recording box said, they tried creating the simulation. Some other pilots were running the simulator. This is different than simulation. This is one step ahead of the simulation. Digital twin means that if the plane is flying during the flight, within milliseconds, there's a digital twin of the plane which is flying as well, but virtually, not physically, right? And anything that starts going wrong with the propellers, with the engine, with the machinery, with the buttons, with electricity, anything, the digital twin, because of the data that is being coming directly from the sensors, starts picking it up within milliseconds. So that's digital twin. Again, perfect example of using AI in 4.0. I'll finish my speech in 5 minutes. But before I do that, I want to share a couple of more examples as well. So I talked about predictive maintenance, right? Another would be, let's come to taxation now. Let's get away from manufacturing for a while, right? Although 4.0 is primarily focused on that, but let's get away, right? Manufacturing. Let's take an example that you're working in a tax regulatory authority, right? A central regulatory authority in any country for tax collection and tax increase, right? And management. So there's a tax fraud, right? There's a lot of tax fraud. There are multiple types of tax frauds, right? Now, how AI can play a role in that, right? AI can help you create that audit sample, the people who have a high propensity to go into a tax fraud or whatever you want to call it, or tax evasion, you can call it in the other sense. But instead of looking at 220 million citizens or 100 million who are paying tax, for instance, just hypothetically, I'm not 100 million people paying tax there, but still, instead of looking at 100 million people paying taxes and their returns and whatnot, you can ask AI to crunch the numbers across the board, do some wrangling, and come up with a list of 20,000 people that you need to focus on, right? Another example of the tax example would be for you guys is that let's assume that I'm not paying my taxes. My total tax to the authority is 5,000 rupees in a year. That's what I've said, that's my tax, right? Now, what role can AI play and how AI would work to come up with that sample is that AI will take into account my data. AI will see that, okay, Adnan is working in a corporate. He's in a position which is senior, probably. He has flown internationally 3 times in the last 1 year. He has traveled through PIA 25 times in a year between Karachi, Islamabad, and Lahore. So once you start getting this data, AI model will see based on what the ticket cost of the PIA is, or what the ticket cost of Emirates Airline is to take it down to Dubai, and what a normal salary is what a estimated range of salary Adnan would be getting right now. You start crunching all these data sets, and within milliseconds, AI algorithm will say, okay, if such a person is giving you 5,000 rupees tax, then there's an issue. So let's highlight this person, mark it as someone who needs to be audited, right? So instead of auditing 200 million people, 100 million people with 10 transactions each, which changes the scale altogether, I now need to focus on 20,000 people, which AI has shortlisted for me. So for you as future leaders in the finance, it is very important to understand that it is not about AI replacing human beings. Many people are against AI because no, AI is going to replace us. They don't know AI. My friend lost his job because of AI, and I hate AI, and AI is not my thing. And this is wrong, because trust me, I was listening to one of the videos in the YouTube earlier, and I loved what he said. The guy said something really amazing, and he was very articulate in saying that. What he said was that AI will not replace humans. AI will not replace humans. Yes, those humans who do not use AI will be replaced by AI. So for you, using AI is important. Start using AI. Accept that this is the new trend. Accept that without this, you can't survive in the corporate world now because of agility, because they will make faster decisions and they will beat you if you're trying to stick to the previous norms and conventional methods of running the finance, right? So yeah, I could go. I could speak on this for hours more, but I know I'm conscious of time as well. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be sitting in the panel with Mohsin as well, so we can take the questions right after those panel discussions as well. I hope I was able to convey something across that was relevant to the conference topic. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the exciting sessions.
Artificial intelligence will not replace humans, but those humans which will not use it. Thank you so much, Mr. Adnan Yusuf Qazi, for your wonderful remarks.
Now something we all were waiting for. A powerful, insightful, riveting panel discussion.
And with this session, your questions will be answered. Depth of AI will be explored and presented in front of you.
At the end of the panel discussion, you all will have the opportunity to ask relevant questions from our worthy panelists.
Can you please show the QR code on screen? Okay. As you can see the QR code on the screen, all you have to do is scan the code, register yourself, and ask your questions relevant to the session.
We will compile all questions for you and convey them to the moderator at the end of the session.
The theme of this panel discussion is Finance in the Era of Big Data and AI. And we will learn how to navigate through opportunities and challenges with the help of our 4 panelists.
So, in a roaring applause, please help me welcome our first panelist,
our own keynote speaker who surpasses all introductions. Please help me welcome Mr. Adnan Yusuf Qazi again on stage.
In your huge round of applause, help me welcome our second panelist, Mr. Mac Sayed.
Mr. Mac Sayed is president and founder of Otre Group of Companies. He has 35 years of extensive experience in the energy sector, and he possesses in-depth knowledge of front, middle, and back office processes across a wide range of energy products. He also exhibits exceptional proficiency in various ETRM and risk systems.
Help us welcome our other brilliant panelist. In your huge round of applause, please help me welcome Mr. Adil Manke.
Mr. Adil Manke is a technology and business leader with 16 plus years of diverse experience in global and local management across different technology domains. He is a CEO of Tata Pilot, dedicated to showing how technology acts as a power driver for value creation and scaling businesses for sustainable growth.
Let's make some noise and show our appreciation with a hearty applause for our fourth panelist, Dr. Umair Haroon.
Dr. Umair Haroon is a qualified chartered accountant and an associate professor in LUMS. He is also director of the master's program in accounting and analytics and coordinator of accounting and finance here Yargo. He plays a pivotal role in shaping the educational landscapes by teaching a wide range of courses.
Now for the man of the hour, the expert in his field, our panel moderator, Mr. Mohsin Jamil.
Mr. Mohsin Jamil is not only the digital consulting partner at KPMG and NRC member, but he is also the lead partner for the Digital Advisory Pakistan. With the practical focus on data and analytics, he has 20 years of experience in audit, advisory, and credit risk management across Pakistan, United Kingdom, and Ireland. He has a specialization in data strategy, data governance, finance transformation, and intelligence automation.
Once again, in a big round of applause for all of the panelists and the moderator, over to you, Mr. Mohsin.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to have all of you here, along with such a knowledgeable, talented, and successful panelists we have today. We'll try to spend next hour or so discussing, although I think it was very insightful keynote, and I think you've discussed most of the stuff, so I think my job is certainly made easy. So we'll be discussing the role of AI and data analytics and how these forces are reshaping our lives, our businesses, our processes, our profession. We'll discuss some more use cases, some examples. We'll certainly discuss challenges and opportunities it brings to us, and how we're going to cope with those challenges, how we're going to grab those opportunities within our profession. We'll also discuss how you guys can equip yourself to be ready for the challenge in the future. So looking forward to the discussion. But before we dive into the discussion, let me share with you an example of how powerful data could be if you know how to use it. So because I work in a data practice, so that's what most likely I'm talking about. So back in 2016, I was introduced to an investment firm based out of Oxford in England, and they were managing a quant fund. It was a unique concept to me, but very interesting. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the quant fund or not. But that fund was very unique in a number of ways. The two very unique aspects of facts about the fund was, since inception, that fund didn't make any loss. So the fund was either making money or it was at break even. Even during the subprime crisis, 2007, 2008, when all the banks, big banks, are losing money, that fund was making money. That's very, very, very unique thing. And I was quite impressed. And second, at that time, when I was not very much, knowledgeable about the data, the unique thing was all the investment decisions were made by computer, not investment professionals. So everything, all the investment decisions are made by computer. And how did they do it? So I spoke to the CEO. And what they did do is they gathered huge amount of data about all the stocks from the US market, UK market. They gathered the massive amount of data, historical data, and then how those stocks would react to events around the world, whether it's a social events, economic events, oil prices, you name it. Huge amount of data, right? And then, so the reason they were based in Oxford was they wanted to hire the finest of the PhDs from the Oxford University. So most of the professionals working there were the mathematicians, statisticians, PhDs from Oxford. They gave that data to those people and tasked them to come up with a model which can predict prices, which can predict how the stock's going to react. So those guys worked on those models for how many days? There was, I'm sure Adnan would explain in a bit more detail, but there was testing on the data, they were training the model, they were fine-tuning it. At the end of the day, when they went live, so that fund was launched back in 2006, 2007, right? So around 10 years, that's a huge amount of time. So imagine, we're now talking about AI and data, and those guys were back in 2006. They developed the model to make money. So that just shows you how powerful data could be if you know how to use. And that's what we're going to do here in this panel discussion, to make you aware what data can bring you. So when you go back to your organization and you become a CFO of the company, so you are well equipped with that knowledge. So when these guys come to you to pitch you or implement a data platform, so you help them rather than become a roadblock. So with that, let's start our discussion, Adnan, with you first. So you explained most of the stuff, but I'll still ask the question. You've been working in data space for a number of years. I personally know you have solved a number of problems in healthcare, in finance, in banking industry, even sports. I mean, you're helping golfers. So you talked about AI. Let's talk about both AI and data analytics, right? How they are correlated. Can AI exist without data? Is it possible? And secondly, what are some of the real-time, real-world usage of these two forces in current era? Especially, maybe if you can talk a little bit about Gen AI also.
Well, am I audible now? Great, thank you. Thank you, Mohsen. Two questions actually. One is about Gen AI and how they are being used to solve real-world problems. And the first question was more around, can AI be done without data? Like how data analytics and AI. So I'll answer the first one first. No, so AI cannot be done without the data, right? So data analysis is the first step. So you would have known that, if you go back 5 years in Pakistan, and if you go back 15 years in the US or Western areas, everybody was talking about BI, which was business intelligence, right? Nobody was talking about AI to an extent that we are talking today, right? So BI is business intelligence, which is all about using the data, integrating the data, making sense of the data, running reports, running analysis, trying to identify patterns at a very high level, and then making informed decisions based on those integrated data sets, right? So that's AI is different in a sense that AI takes the same data, but instead of humans looking at the dashboards and making the decisions, AI looks at the dashboards at the back end directly at the data at the back end, and then run ML algorithms and take the similar decisions, right? So it's human decision versus AI decision, but the data is the backbone in both the cases, right? So the precise answer, Mohsin, to your question is that without data, AI is nothing, right? And that's why we say that garbage in, garbage out, right? So that's the point number one. So I'll give a very basic example. Let's assume that to further explain this, let's assume that you have a data of crimes in Lahore, right? So you know that in Model Town there were so many crimes. There was a street crime. People were mugged in Valencia. There were issues in DHA, etc. So you have a dashboard. Now, if you keep looking at the dashboard for 1 hour for the past 5 years, any sane person, any intelligent person, especially people like chartered accountants who are so much into the numbers, more than anybody else, they would spend half an hour and say, okay, there's a high probability that tomorrow evening, or maybe in the next few evenings, in the next 1 week, there would be a mugging incident in Model Town because there's a power outage planned. And I've seen that the trend says that there are a lot of crimes in the Model Town after 8 p.m., especially the mugging event. So what you effectively did was that you looked at the dashboard, the numbers for half an hour, created a visualization within your brain, your natural intelligence came into play, and you predicted something, which you can, right? But now let's take this problem to billion times more, right? Scale, in terms of the scale. One person spent 1 hour to predict one crime. But what if you need to predict the crimes of the across the world, like whole world, within 2 minutes, within milliseconds? Then you need scale, computing, the power. Then comes AI into play, right? So I hope that the analysis that you did is exactly what AI is doing. The difference is the scale and the computing power that you see. To your second question, Mohsin, I mean, if you talk about real world examples, right? Health is there, right? We talked about health. You know that we are working on something as well. And by the way, we are collaborating with KPMG. So I'll give an example. We're working on a project in which we are trying to predict cancer in mammograms in a very early stage through the power of AI. So what happens is that you take a mammogram, you run AI algorithms, you try to identify if there's a mass there, a cyst there, or for that matter, a calcification there, a micro calcification, a pixel level calcification there or not. Now, in 20% of the cases, doctors agree that they can miss picking up cancer in the mammograms or in the histopathological reports as well, while they're investigating the tumors using the power of microscope, right? So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to solve that 20%, not 80%. We're trying to lower the margin of error by shrinking that 20% misses to maybe 5% or 3%. So if we're able to do that through the power of AI, then obviously that's a real world example that we lives, inshallah. Right. So that's another example as well.
Good, Ran. So certainly, so the data is prerequisite for anything. So, I think we should be careful about the data. I should be thankful to the data because that's where making all the decisions. So before AI, we were analyzing. Now AI is analyzing, and you rightly pointed out the garbage in, garbage out, which is very important, and that leads me to my second question. So whenever I go and advise a client, the first thing I ask them basically, do you have any governance in place? Do you have any structure in place? Do you know where exactly you are in terms of data journey before you can use that data for any insights? So data journey is very important for any. So these finance professionals, of course, they're the core backbone of the organization. So I think it's important for them to understand what is the typical data journey for any organization. So Adil, you've been advising a number of clients. If I ask you briefly explain what is the typical data journey for any organization from generation of data till the use of data for AI or personal use.
Sure. Thank you, Mohsin. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So Adnan, I think, explained a lot of things very beautifully. So I'll try to briefly explain what the data journey looks like. It's a huge, it can take lectures to explain that. But I'll touch two aspects. First, I think the one is, for example, if I am within an organization, how data-driven I am, that actually is very, very important. So, for example, if I am going to a client and actually helping them answer this question, the success of them is very much dependent on how data-driven they are themselves within the organization. So that's one thing. But Coming to the question, so where the first step is, do you make the normal decisions, a company based on data? Are they collecting data? If they're collecting data, what's the quality of data? And then at this step, the most important part is the governance, the data governance part. What to collect, how to collect it, how to store it. So that is the most important thing. And I explain this as an example of like the parliament of any country, the legislature um, develops the legislation. They don't have to implement it. And then the UCs or downstream organization in the country, they actually are executors. So the first part is creating the governance, knowing according to your business what data you have to collect and how, and so creating those policies and procedures, and then disseminating them across the organization. Okay, this is what we have to do and this is how we have to do it. So that's the first part, data collection. But then how do you know what data do you have to collect? That depends on what problem do you have to solve, right? If you want to uh, predict customer churn, or you want to increase customer retention, then obviously you need to have the customer data. Just sales data may not be, just revenue data may not be enough. You would have to know the customer at the nth level. What's the name? What do they buy? When do they buy it? So data collection, garbage in, garbage out, we have actually talked a lot. I think it's a very cliche term, but for whatever we are talking about, industry 4.0 and then 5.0 is here too. It's all about data. It'll be a bit long answer, but there's actually, it's very interesting. There's a lot of money to be made even in data labeling. The data, there's so much data out there that is that can be used, but it cannot be used because it's not labeled. So that's what Adnan and Mohsin meant by garbage in, garbage out. If data is there, but it's not good enough, you can't generate value out of it. So what do you want to, what's the outcome? To get to that outcome, what kind of data do you need? How do you collect it? Ensuring the quality of data is there. And then once you have the data, now what you do? So then you put it, you curate the data so that it's consumable for a data analyst. For example, if you're not using, the power of Power BIs or Tableau. So that's the first thing. Okay, you have the quality data, but then you have to, automate the process, as Adnan also alluded to. So then you decide what systems you want to use, what softwares, because you have softwares to do the data analysis for you. Then you use that. Before that, you create the pipelines, we call it. I don't want to go into the complex terms. You put data in a consumable form. Now that could be consumed by as simple as an Excel, or it could be used by the software like Tableau and Power BI. So that gives you then kind of descriptive analytics that you can see, okay, this is the data we have and this is what it's showing me and this is what I want to do. Then, once you are there, then you go to the next level of predictive and all the machine learning power comes in, that you can see the dashboards, they're accurate, but you have to spend hours to analyze what they are, Now with AI, I use this term, actually not me, a lot of people across the board. There are systems that would act as co-pilot with you. If you're a marketing manager or if you're a finance manager, their companies are creating products that would help you. They get the data. They also generate what Adnan said, dashboards for you. Now what you do, they will also tell you what to do. They'll give you options. But to get there, it's the entire journey from data collection all the way to curation, creating pipelines and making it usable, and then do it. So it's a long journey. And the most important part, I think, to become a data-driven organization is change management, because unfortunately, what happens is that the CEO comes in and say, "Hey, we are becoming data-driven," and then they bring in consultants and they try their best, and unfortunately, it doesn't work because you have to incentivize people. You have to tell them why is it important for them. And that's where the change management part comes in. Maybe we'll discuss more about it in future. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think data journey is very important. And imagine most of the big four these days, or the big, the audit practices, the audit software is data driven, right? So imagine if you have bad quality of data, you end up, most likely bad audit and into litigation. So I think journey is very, very important. Thank you. That was very detailed, explained very detailed, Adil. So moving on to Max. Max, I know you've been, you are one of us. You are a finance professional, right? So you have worked in investment bank. You're working with the commodity market, energy sector. I mean, you have massive experience from the US within the financial sector. And now what you're trying to do is you're trying to solve a finance problem with the help of data. You're working with a number of clients, hedge funds, and other companies where you're predicting at which price to negotiate. That's very, very interesting use case. So if you can share a few examples of, within the finance industry, you've been working on in general, maybe, which for our audience can emphasize how important the data and AI is within the finance industry. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mohsin. Surely AI has very great inroads into the financial sector. If you look at historically, the first time AI was used is in the hedge fund, right, for the predictive purposes. But now almost every sector of the finance, AI, and especially the reinforcement learning is playing a major part, right? So if you look at the use cases, one simple use case we can look at, there's a one point of AI is like, descriptive, like, describing, finding a needle in a haystack, right? So when we are in a trading firms, right? So every day the biggest problem they have explained P&L, right? So there is a shift in the P&L or shift in the portfolio value, right? So there can be hundreds of different factors can be counting in, right? Because it depends is that how complex that trade is, if it's a financial or is a formula-based trade, right? There can be so many underlying derivatives to value a trade, right? So historically, the people, the folks in risk management, the people with the finance background used to, like one example was Monte Carlo simulation, right? So overnight, they used to run Monte Carlo simulation. They try different simulation and see what the value of the portfolio might be located and where it's being shifting, right? So all that things are being handed over to the machine learning models, and which is way easier. So from explained P&L to looking in where is the shift is happening, that's where, the other panel was explaining about moving from explain to diagnostic approach. So basically understanding how this shift is happening and what causing is a diagnostic, right? And the second part is that what else can happen, right? So simple example, let's say, we have an oil cargo and the oil cargo is moving from somewhere in South America and the destination is, somewhere in Europe, right? So when the crude oil vessel is in the open ocean, it has a lot of risks being encountering, right? And on top of that, due to, the distance of the voyage, it might take weeks and days, the value of the products can also be changed at the destination, right? So how to predict that, what the value might be look like, right? And what can be my cash flows, and same thing, what other biggest thing is like, for example, demurrage, right? So what events can cause my demurrage, right? So all these calculations are being done by creating those machine learning models, right? Which is an AI, right? So basically, if you look at the machine learning models are simply understanding what factors can impact the output, and you take those factors. And the most important thing is that as much data you have, like, for example, like we work in Texas. So for whole state of Texas, we have to work on predicting what will be the power demand for next 7 days, right? Because that's a big financial exposure to the companies who are trading power, buying power mean electricity, right? So how you do that, right? So we take all different input factors, all different of weather, the holiday factor, the months, the day, and everything, putting into the machine and looking into what the past performance was. That machine is going to tell us that what the future value might look like, right? And the last example I want to give is that which is very heavily used now, is an anomaly detection. Previously, anomaly detection was using IoT devices on manufacturing and detecting like a preemptive action. But now anomaly detection has a big part in financial market and especially on the audit side. Basically, anomaly detection is looking at the patterns of some transactions which are being happening in the past and where is the deviation, right? So whenever there is a deviation, there's an alert, and the alert will tell you that you need to move into diagnostic stage now. So that's why anomaly detection is very critical in a banking sector where there are millions of millions transactions happening every day, and continuously 24/7 running a machine can easily detect those anomalies, and preemptive actions can be taken.
Thank you. So they're very useful. This is just to explain to you guys how there are plenty of use cases, and AI and data is there to empower you. So you shouldn't be scared of it. Get used to it, learn it, and then get empowered. You'll be certainly a much better CFO with data knowledge than the one who doesn't have.
I just would like to share one, because you're working with so many problems. Some problems are very interesting. You could have not thought someone is going to do that. So we have a client. They said we are using cough to detect COVID. It was 2.5, 3 years ago, and I was like, really? Like, how would someone would cough and you'll tell whether the person has COVID or not? And they did it. I mean, they're based out of US, but first, I mean, now COVID is not a big issue right now. But now how they're using, because it has implications on finance and insurance industry in the US. Now they are selling that product, but to companies, big corporates in the US, because they have a very huge insurance bills. That test your people, they cough, and if they have flu, so they can detect flu ahead of time. Then you ask them people to not either come to office or, so that they stay home and it doesn't increase. And the impact is financial, because in US, the healthcare industry works very differently, and insurance bills are a lot. So I'm just giving an example. And what's happening is your cough is an audio file which get converted into data, and that data again is being used to. So I'm sorry I took it, but it was such a.
That's a very good example, Adil. I think that just shows how powerful data is. I mean, who would have thought with the help of data you can detect if someone has a COVID or not? I mean, this is very excellent use case. This just shows how powerful it is. Before we move to the next question, just so at the end of the session, we'll spend around 15 minutes answering your questions. So if you're unable to scan the QR code, you can just go to slido.com and write hashtag QAISC. So hashtag QAISC, and just ask a question, and we'll pick 4 or 5 questions towards the end of this discussion. So Umair, I know, so he's one of us, by the way. So Dr. Umair is a PhD in finance. He's been doing great work in LAMS, helping chartered accountants and other finance professionals to equip themselves with the analytics knowledge. So you've been interacting with a lot of financial professionals. I know what some of your students are chartered accountants. Some of your students are even working professional. So when you interact with them, people who have passed your course, if you can explain how analytics or data empowered them to make better decisions. Especially, the people like me who doesn't have any data knowledge come to you, and what do you do to them so they can make better decisions in terms of finance.
Right. Thank you very much. We reach out to people like you to come and empower them. So that's one. But I mean, taking a cue from earlier comments, my sister in UK, she's a pathologist, and she's leading an effort in her hospital to use AI for reading the reports and the slides and everything. And from one perspective, it seems that she is preparing her own replacement. She'll be replaced by the system that she's creating. And another perspective is that she's repositioning herself to be able to use that system. So as earlier comments by Adnan and Adi, if you don't use data analytics and the problem with the younger people now, with you people, is that the pace of change of technology is so rapid now that you have to retool yourself every 5-10 years. It used to be, and I think Makbul Saab would remember, if you pick out a book, auditing book from 50 years ago, there would be a chapter on analytical procedures. So we've been using analytics all along, and we've been using statistics for finance and accounting purposes all along. It's just that now we have the computing power, the processing power, the storage, the communications are very fast. So all of it, what it means now is that you cannot rely on one skill and spend your career on it. It used to be that you remember, you know Excel, and then you'll progress and everything. You know how a manual transmission car works as a mechanic, and you can spend a whole career fixing the cars. Now, then you've got automatic, and then you've got the transmission, smart transmissions, and then the rate of change of technology is so fast that if mechanics don't retool themselves every 5-10 years, they won't be able to survive. So same goes with finance and accounting, but people, that the things are evolving so fast that we have to keep up. So without a data background, the first suggestion would be get a data background. And that's and data background is what grounding in stats and economics. And I think ICAP is doing a very good job of grounding the people, the students in these two disciplines, because this is the basis of all the work that Adil and Adnan are doing. So in a sense that what we do is we create that grounding, and then we send the students over to companies like Data Pilot to train them on real life projects. So that's the application side. So essentially what we are looking at is people have talked about garbage in, garbage out, but also any smartest artificial intelligence system would be as smart as the person using it, or as dumb as the person using it. So if you don't understand what's happening, what the system is doing, then you cannot use it effectively. So you cannot go to a doctor and say, give me medicine, without telling what are the symptoms. So you need to be able to read the business problems and then translate them in a language that the computer would understand. And that's critical. So an exposure to functions other than accounting, that's critical, because without that, you don't have a understanding of the business and how to write business problems or how to read business problems. And then a grounding in economics and statistics. So without that, it would be increasingly difficult for you to survive.
Thank you. So you're doing a great job. By the way, I mean, I think you're certainly producing better professionals. So you guys already know, because you train in audit, tax, advisory, so you already know business problems. If you understand the power of data, I think you guys will be able to solve their problem much better than these guys, to be honest, with their help, of course, because I mean, they would need your help. They would come to you, they understand the problem you're trying to solve, and then you would be more close to processes. So I have a number of questions. I think we're short of time. So let's move to, I'm going to skip few. So let's move to the next topic, which is kind of buzzword these days. The talk of the town is generative AI, and you slightly touched on that, Adnan. So just explain, so you explain what AI is, beautifully explained. So just maybe in the same way, if you can explain for our audience what generative AI is and how it's different from, the other AI techniques.
Great. Thank you very much, Mohsen. So AI key, there are three branches to AI primarily, right? One is the machine learning, tabular machine learning, I would say. We all talked about it. We take the crime data, we take medical history data, we try to find out something that is going to happen potentially in the future. That is machine learning, number crunching, statistical analysis, classifiers, and whatnot. The other branch is computer vision, which I talked about earlier. I'm just building the story here because I need to explain you the generative AI, but I need to set the base first. So the other part is the computer vision, in which you use the cameras of the computer to, record some information which is visual, a video, an image, anything, and then you run AI algorithms to, using the pixel level details of what is happening in a particular scene, you identify what is potentially going to happen. So for instance, if a person who has a gun enters into an ATM room, the ATM camera will automatically identify and raise an alarm because you are running computer vision algorithms on top of the feed that is coming from the CCTV cameras. That is computer vision branch of AI. The third branch is generative AI. Generative AI is very, very exciting these days. Why? Because this is the power of AI to generate new stuff, to generate new content, right? So for instance, I'll give an example. We are actually, 10x is working on the company I'm working for in 10x, it is working with a company that is based out of Italy. What the problem we're trying to solve using the power of generative AI is going to help you understand what it is in a very simple way. So they have content writers and medical practitioners who read the medical journals, right? There are, by the way, 2 million new medical journals being published on yearly basis. And the problem is that the doctors don't have time to go through a journal which has 80 pages and infographics and so many mathematics and numbers and all those things. So their content writers and the medical researchers, they read those journals, every bit of the journals, and they manually summarize into 2 pages and create some infographics as well. Very exciting. And through their app, the doctors can subscribe to their application, pay them dollars a yearly basis, and then read 2 pages summary of the journals instead of having to read the entire journal, because doctors don't have time. That is a business problem, right? Up till now, they were using content writers and researchers to do this. Now they came to us that, okay, now that we have got Chat GPT, we have got generative AI, can you use AI and bots and natural language processing capabilities of AI to read the journals and generate 2-page summaries instead of a human being generating the summary? So what we did with them was that we worked with them for almost 8 weeks. And as we speak now, alhamdulillah, we are now able to generate summaries through the power of AI. So imagine 2 million journals being summarized by people and 2 million journals being summarized within a few hours by AI machines. So this is the scale that we're looking at. So this is one example of generative AI in which AI is now generating new content instead of just analyzing new content. That is one. Number 2 example of generative AI is that if I want to come up with a marketing video of company ABC, my friend from Data Pilot is here, and he wants to come up with a marketing video of Data Pilot. So the conventional way would be I would hire marketing people. They would bring in all those cameras. They'll hire characters, people who have good English communication skills. They will pay them dollars and they will memorize the script and say it out loud, and people will record with all those lightings and everything. Such a hassle, very cost consuming, very, very pricey, very time consuming as well. Now imagine generative AI will just ask my friend Adil to give me what text do you want to say, pronounce and say it loud. He will give the text and he'll use a software which is an AI-driven generative AI software. He'll say, okay, I want a female to read that text out. I want this text to be said out loud in, and read out loud in a British accent, right? And I want that to be done for 1 minute or so. So that's the speed and the pace of the job. Within few minutes, a generative AI software will create a marketing video for him. So what happens is that the text will be converted into voice. There are a lot of voices. There's a pool of voices available: British accent, American accent, whatnot, a typical Pakistani Indian accent and whatnot. And then you can run that over through AI models. And a simulator, an avatar, basically, an avatar will say it exactly with lip syncing to what the voice is. And there was a famous video from President Obama in which Obama was made to say 4 entirely different things through the power of AI, right? So imagine now a marketing video in which Obama is, hypothetically speaking, obviously, Obama is promoting Data Pilot. Imagine that. So this is the power of generative AI. So I hope I'm able to clarify.
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly powerful. So, but I think, we shouldn't be afraid of it. So when Chat GPT came, a lot of us thought it's going to replace all the programmers. But it's actually empowering all the programmers rather than, instead of the program they used to write in say 10 days, they're now able to write in a day or a few hours instead. So.
One thing I would like to add is, which is very pertinent. Yes, the power is there, but the challenge is there as well, because we all know deep fake, right? Deep fake is when these technologies create a video about you, which is not true. So imagine that I'm not against a particular country, but gentleman here sitting uses AI and uses the voice, my lecture from today, takes the word out, my voice out, and my actual, presentation style out, and extract the features and creates a video in which Adnan is speaking against any particular country. So how will I on earth I will prove myself being innocent that I did not say that? So the problem is that with these technologies being advanced, we will not be able to trust each other anymore if we don't govern. And that's where the point that he raised, that with all these power, the data governance come into play as well. If we are not governing it, then we are in a terrible situation, unfortunately.
So there's certainly ethical challenge. I mean, we're supposed to.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, because Adnan gave an example of a client coming to him, because we for smaller companies, actually we are using generative AI to do our stuff, fairly quickly. Also, we have developed our own internal generative AI bot, which is helping my engineers to do their stuff, if not 10x, at least 5 times faster. And it's a similar applies on the financial industry as well. Yeah.
So Max, again, let's move to finance. If I ask you within the Gen AI domain, what sort of trends you see in coming years, the Gen AI helping the finance professionals, be it trading, accounting, auditing, anything related to what sort of trends you see in coming years, Gen AI for the finance industry?
Yeah, sure. So in artificial intelligence, there's another part called augmented data science. Augmented data science is the next level where the dimension are very complex, right? So let's say if you have a problem, we can easily solve X and Y, then it's X and Y and Z and many, many other directions which become difficult, right? And that's where the Gen AI or augmented data science come, which actually help us to understand into the different dimensions of the same problem in a finance, right? So let's say, for example, going back into a finance, like in in the region of the quantitative trading, or for example, like, when they were doing like a Bitcoin currency trading, and how you can mitigate your risk, right? What amount of hedge you need to put it in there. So all these becomes like in the phase of the augmented data science or Gen AI, right? So basically what Gen AI is doing that, I can try an example. Let's say, for example, someone is booking a very complex, some sort of vanilla options, right? And in vanilla option, there can be so many different possibilities, and they can have throw different other things into it to mitigate the risks that, right? But the Gen AI will help that. It will take 2 steps further, and it will recommend that what other things we can do to mitigate that position we have in the market, right? So basically is going and generating a new type of, you can say, a structured deal from the finance point of view, which can mitigate the risk, and it will ensure more value of the product, right? In banking sector, they're also using Gen AI whenever they have new financial packages being offered, right? So there is a limitation like how far we can go in, but there are some other dark corners where the light can be thrown, right? So Gen AI is just like an augmented data scientist take next step and help us generate, more profitable, packages or the services for the client, where you can help them maybe saving the money, or maybe preparing for retirement, or maybe taking any sort of financial position where there's any sort of risk involved.
Thank you. So that's a very useful example. That's the future. I'm not sure what's going to come in the next 3-4 years, but for now we have Gen AI, and it's very powerful, very strong, and we can use it. To be honest, I use it at least, to do my job better. So we discussed. I wanted to discuss in bit more detail the ethical part, right? So you mentioned deep fake. That's using technology in a wrong way. I don't know if it's true or not, but I was reading somewhere memes. So someone is asking, ChatGPT, what are the websites to avoid to download the torrents? And they give you the list of all the websites, but let's take a step further. So you guys have been working with finance professionals, creating models, be it audit, automated accounting, identifying tax frauds, banking frauds, and you can easily create a biasness in the model, right? So that's a very important aspects of ethical, aspects of the AI. So what are the challenges? Really, if I can start with you. So what are the challenges you see from ethics perspective, and how we can address those challenges? We discussed deepfake, we discussed model bias, we discussed data integrity and privacy. How can we address those challenges, especially with the pace the technology is, evolving every day?
So I will just start with an example. I think there was this Tesla who hit a black person because the model was trained on had mostly white people. So I was just talking to someone, and the reason was that this is also I think there are technology, especially, and there's a lot of debate going on that a lot of jobs would be gone, and there are risks, right? So we have to embrace them. It's having an open discussion that what the risks are, and in particularly now, at least with our customers, we talk about these things, and deep fakes and all. You cannot stop some things. This will happen, and I actually know that it's happening. I mean, in Pakistan and elsewhere. It's just that what do we advocate, and what do we believe in, and as a practitioner, talking to the customer, making sure, because the problem, this problem is because of AI, right? So, and AI, as Adnan said and Mohsen said, we need data for that. So making sure, again, data governance. So what are you collecting? And if you're collecting, making sure that there is no bias. There will be outliers, but there is a way to handle them. So it's a lot of research and critical thinking involved in to think about what sorts of data you need to collect and making sure that there are no biases. So because if you have that, at least you are doing your job. There would still be issues. I don't know. Adnan might talk about it. I don't know if there is a way to right now eradicate deepfake, because it is going to happen. And that's why there's there's dark web, which is running for, I don't know. So I think make sure 2-3 things. Due diligence, realizing the risk. I think the problem is people just say, no, there is no risk. There is a risk. There's a huge risk. And make sure you have the governance model around to, to make sure that it's minimized. It may not go to zero, that it's minimized.
Good. Do you want to add anything, Adnan?
Yeah, just one thing. I mean, when we were training the algorithm for the golf technology company, right, one of the biggest problems was that there was not enough data for the female golfers. Now, if you've developed the world's first AI caddy in the US, and if that caddy is working for men and not giving good advice for female, it's a bias problem. It's unethical, because a female on the field, if she's not able to get the right advice and she's playing against a male and he's getting the right advice, it's unethical, right? Now, the problem comes back to what Adil mentioned, that for that, in order for my world's first AI caddy to be treating men and women equally, I need to have the enough labeled data and training set for women as well. But unfortunately, I don't have that much data available, because females are relatively lesser in numbers who are playing golf. So now here exactly comes some issues that you need to highlight, but then you need to be very vocal about them. Okay, we are about to release this caddy, but this caddy may have some bias, but the reason is not the intent of the company who is launching this caddy. The reason is because there is no data available. So our intent is to ensure that as we grow this caddy, we will try to get as much data for the female golfers as possible, but that may not happen 3 years from now. So these are the statements that need to come directly from the top management of such forward-looking companies, because otherwise people will claim easily that there's a bias in the application, and that's wrong, right? So at times there needs to be some understanding on our part as well that there would be bias if the data set is not available.
And I'd like to add one more thing, which is very important and a very growing field, which is of synthetic data. So as Adnan mentioned, now there are companies. There's this huge company called Gretel.ai. It was founded by Google's head of HR, Laszlo. So what they're doing is they can create synthetic data. It's not real data, but if you don't have, like, if you need more female population in the data that Adnan mentioned, Gretel software can do that for you with labeling, and those are the companies that actually trying to solve those issues. So again, a very good field actually too.
Very good. So all we can do is be good citizen, aware of the risk out there, and bring some governance, and maybe the regulators are, I think, already sitting. I heard the top technology gurus are sitting in US and coming up with doing some brainstorming of the regulation. So let's move on to let's spend the last 5-6 minutes guiding all our audience how they can equip themselves to be ready for the future. So Dr. Umar, if I can start with you. So a lot of my colleagues, so I work in Big Four, so a lot of my colleagues, when I discuss with them, they are not even aware of what Gen AI is. They're not even aware of what's cognitive analytics is, a lot of other things, right? So what these guys can do to make sure they are aware of what's happening in the technology? Do they need to come up with a strategy? Do they need to reach out to any resources you recommend to be so they are aware of what's happening around there, especially in the finance world within the domain of AI and data?
Right. So for them, it would be better to start small and prioritize. Just because there is a technology available, it doesn't mean you have to use it. So ICAP could use retina eye scan for marking attendance of you people, but that's just because it's there, do we have to use it? That's one. Two, education and training, because again, retooling, reskilling is going to be necessary going forward. We are not going to stick to what we know. And we used to spend a whole career on that. So retooling, reskilling, and it's quite, ChatGPT and YouTube, and there are so many resources now available online and free that we don't have to spend a lot of fortune on them. So that's one that. For smaller organizations, collaborate with educational institutions. A great resource. You've got people doing CS and mathematics and stats and accounting and finance. You can have them, you co-opt them on your projects and so forth. Data Pilot is doing that with us, having people. So it's a win-win situation for the university and the organization. So a knowledge exchange there, co-opting students like that. Then there are relatively cheaper options available also. You could use cloud-based tools, which are pay as you use, rather than buying the whole license. You could use those. But I think in our society with the huge young population, collaboration with educational institutions, that would be very beneficial for smaller organizations who do not have in-house capabilities. So bring in people who want to do a project and have them do the projects for them.
Oh, absolutely. I think the first one, you need to have an interest. So I'm an accountant, I'm not a data professional, but I am running a data consulting, right? So the reason is I have interest. So I find a time and I go and read and do research, and that's how I'm able to increase my knowledge. I think creating interest is one thing, and then spending a few hours every week, and then collaborating with, of course, education institutions. So Max, if I can ask you, so there are a lot of tools out there, right? So there are open source tools. If you can explain what open source is for a lot of our audience also. There are a lot of tools out there. I think the people would be aware with Power BI and Tableau and Click, which is BI tools, the Python for data analysis, for example, there are huge amount of tools. I don't think they need to learn everything, but if someone has interest, for example, right? So what do you recommend for someone who doesn't have a data background, someone who is who use Excel for the data analysis, for example? So if they want to move away from Excel, they need to analyze 50,000 rows and 5,000 columns, for example. What can they do? What are the basic tools they can use to to learn and do the data analysis?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the field of data analytics and artificial intelligence has a very wider scope, right? So you heard use cases here from health to finance to manufacturing, so all over the places, right? So you guys being in a financial sector and going to build your career in finance and accounting and audit, it's good to be specific first to your own domain, right? That's very important. Because if you try to cross out and start learning about AI related to a COVID is not going to help you, right? So understanding your use case is very important, right? Next step is that, like whenever you're doing something, because see, the AI is here to help us to solve problem in a more smarter way, right? So let's say, for example, even if you're doing a small analysis, I remember from my audit time, I used to go Bata and then, I was a junior, so they want me to look into the marketing expenses and do an analysis, right? So even if you're doing that, just think that how the data analytics, the built-in tools and AI can help you to reduce that time to do an analysis, right? So basically what you do, right? Basically the most important thing, you're going to see a trend, right? You're going to see where is the pattern being changed from previous year or previous 3 year, and which area it looks like they're spending more, or where you feel that, there's some ambiguities there. So the next thing comes is that where you learn. So first understand what is your use case is really relate to your domain, and you want to solve the business challenge. And now you look for the tools, right? So you don't have to be a developer, right, in order to do it. Like you don't have to be learn Python, because even you can find so many tools which are already built with Python, which you can apply that, right? Most important thing is just to learn the basics. Once you understand the foundation and you question what you want to solve it. So where are the different avenues? The venues I really found very good is one of that is edx.org, right? Probably you guys already know. So edx.org give you free courses from all the top universities, right? So I prefer them over Coursera, because EDX courses are very high quality courses and they are very, very domain specific, right? Another courses which I was very interested is from NYU, New York University, which is also Ivy School. They have School of Finance has a special programs which are free, and they are related to, like I mentioned before, reinforcement learning in finance, and that's really apply into your domain, right? And other places are like Coursera, you can do it. But in the end, the only way you can learn this data analytics, and I don't think you can go away from that, right? You must have to learn it to improve your work, bring your efficiency. You can only the way you can learn it, take a business case, take a challenge, and try not to solve in a traditional way, but try to apply that tool. Even if you look at Microsoft Excel, even give you a tool, right, to forecast something or create some stress analysis or something, right? So that's the one thing. And second is use online free resources. And now they are almost everywhere you can find. Our top universities are giving you, even myself, even now I take courses, free courses from MIT, right? MIT online is like a free courses from them. You can hear these lectures free. And that's the best source to learn. So.
Thank you. And again, I'll urge that there should be intention to learn. If there's intention to learn, you'll find a way to learn. So we'll take a few questions from the audience. So I have the questions here with me. Adnan, there's one first question for you. I think we're supposed to discuss this, and the question also came from the audience. It's very close use case to your heart. So fraud detection and deep learning, right? So the question is basically how AI and data can be used for fraud detection in banks. So if you can explain maybe briefly how deep learning, for example, or machine learning can be used for fraud detection.
All right, great. Thank you very much for posing this question. Before I answer and get to the meat of this question, right? First, let's understand what deep learning does, right? So basically, you show an apple to a deep learning algorithm and say it's an apple. So what deep learning does is it starts extracting features at the back end without telling you. It starts extracting features of that apple. Okay, the color is greenish. It could be reddish. The aspect ratio is like 1.2. This is the height. This is the width. There are curves. It's spherical. Whatever it is, it's the 3D view of it. It starts extracting the features at the back end with a lot of mathematical and calculations, which is kind of a black box because there's less explainability in deep learning, right? However, next time you change the color of the apple and show another apple to the deep learning will automatically start picking up those new features as well because you're labeling it. You're telling the deep learning model this is an apple. The third time you show it's an unlabeled apple now, you show an apple and the deep learning will pick, okay, this is an apple because it was trained with the labeled data, with the classified data, with the labeled data that these, and it was able to extract the features. Now, this was a very simple example. Apple has nothing to do with this conference, right? Coming to the financial fraud. Let's assume that you are trying to identify you are in an anti-money laundering department and you are sitting in Denmark and you are trying to assess billion transactions and trying to identify your job given to you by your bosses to identify 20,000 or 20, let's say 20 potential AML money laundering, ML transaction, money laundering transactions from the billions of records. If you really want to do it with your eyes and ears, then go look at a billion records, spend next 30 days and nights 24/7, and you'll be able to find maybe 10 or 20 records. If you want to do it with machine learning, not deep learning, simple tabular machine learning, try running statistical algorithms, try different techniques. You'll have some good explainability as well, and you may come up with some good insights as well. But if you want to do this with machine learning, deep learning, you need to have a proper labeled data. So the first thing that the deep learning algorithm will ask you is, okay, tell me from your historical records, last 10 years of records, tell me actual money laundering transactions and help tag them to me. Give them the features, give them every single bit of that transaction that happened in the history with a tag that this is a money laundering proven transaction. So that next time when you show 5 unseen transactions to the deep learning algorithms, they will automatically try to match the features, run math in the black box environment, and try to pick if it's a money laundering transaction or not. Like it was able to pick the apple even if the color was changed, because 99% of the features were resembling an apple, aspect ratio, color, spherical, etc., whatnot. So coming to the main point, the reason I always go into the very basics is because it's very easy for me to spell out some jargons, some very catchy words, prove that I know AI, and leave this room with you guys being confused. The reason I want to go to the very basics and very simple is that once I was sitting there, and when I was listening to people, I was not able to understand. And then I had to go through all these courses that our distinguished panelist is mentioning, right? So try to break everything into simple categories of problems and learn one by one. And trust me, within few days, you'll be a master of them. Not a master, but you will be a very relevant person in that field. And then you can do mastery, obviously, in the years to come. So yes, fraudulent transactions, be it tax, be it audit, be it anti-money laundering, they could be identified through deep learning as long as you have the training set available, which means you have the transactions, all the features, detailed data, quality data, no garbage, and you have the tags that it's a proven fraudulent transaction. One more example very quickly. Let's assume that there is an import bill. So you're importing goods, and to not optimize, let's be more harsh, to come up with a fraud in the taxation transactions, you show that this medical supply is being imported from a country A which has lesser taxation as per our import policy. However, in actuality, that drug is not coming from that country, that is coming from another country, and importing from that country means a bigger tax amount in Pakistan, let's assume. Now there are frauds. If you have those invoices available, which were fraudulent, you can send those invoices to a deep learning algorithm and say, next time when I show you an import bill or import transaction, try to pick up a fraudulent transaction based on a wrong country being tagged intentionally for that capsule. So for instance, there's a capsule, the capsule name is ABC. The weight is 0.2 whatever unit. The color is bluish, right? The potency is this. The size is this, the dimension is this, the source of country is this, and the number of capsules is this, and the price is X dollars. All of these become the features to the algorithm. And the invoice number is this, and the company who's importing is ABC. Next time, if you tell it was actually a fraudulent transaction, next time what deep learning algorithm assesses is that, okay, this company has done one fraud in the past, so I will give some weight to it that this could be a fraudulent transaction. That is just one bit of it. The second could be the capsule is not blue. These capsules, as per the medical data, is always green, should always be green. Why is it blue? The flag raises. The deep learning tells you there's something wrong with it. So the point and the price, this is not 5,000 rupees per leaf capsule. This is just 20 rupees per leaf capsule. Why is it tagged as 5,000 rupees? There's something wrong in this. Last, this country does not even make these capsules. Why is it tagged to, for instance, Singapore? Singapore is not into this medical supplies. So what happens at the back end is exactly what happens in your brain. This is natural intelligence, which has been instilled into machines as artificial intelligence. So what neurons are doing as electrical impulses is exactly what is being done in artificial intelligence as neural networks. So I hope that answers your question. This is more complex than this, obviously, but I tried to explain you to my best possible ability.
Thank you, Dana. Very useful. I think we'd love talking about data. We can spend another 2 days, but unfortunately we're out of time, and I've been receiving 10 texts from our colleagues that we need to stop. So thank you, Max, Adnan, Adil, Omer. I mean, it's been an amazing session. I've learned a lot. I'm sure our colleagues, our audience must have learned a lot. So thanks for coming to be part of ICAP event. I look forward to see you again at some stage in future, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohsen. Thank you. Thank you.
I would be formally request to please stay on the stage. Sir Mohsen, please join us on the stage. Thank you.
Wow, such a thought-provoking session presented by the spectacular panelist and the charismatic panel moderator. Now,
We formally invite Amara Gondal, Sir Ahmed Salman, respected Vice President Asad Feroz, and respected Zishan Ejaz Sahab to please come on the podium and present mementos to our worthy guests. Thank you. With a big round of applause. I would also request Makbul Saab to please come on the stage and join us. Adnan Yusuf Qazi.
next panelist is Mr. Max Sayed.
Please give it up for Mr. Adil Manke. Our last panelist, Dr. Umair Haroon. Our lovely panel moderator, Sir Mohsin. Thank you very much, dear panel moderators, panelists, and guests. Thank you. Once again, a big round of applause. Iman, weren't you sharing a joke with me before the event? Why not share it with the audience?
Yes, sir, surely. So, guys, should I share the joke with you?
Let's show some excitement. Should she?
Okay, okay. So, once upon a time, a chartered accountant and two of his trainees went on a bank audit. On their way, a genie appeared and he asked for each of them a wish. Trainee one moved forward and he said, I wish to go to Singapore with a lot of money. Genie fulfilled his wish and sent him to Singapore with a lot of money. Then, trainee 2 moved forward and said, I want to go to Switzerland with a lot of money. Genie again fulfilled his wish and sent him to Switzerland. Now guess what? It's time for the chartered accountant's wish. Now it's turn, and he said, I warned those two idiots before lunchtime. Genie fulfilled their wish, and they were here again. Moral of the story, let your boss speak first.
Thank you very much once again. Artificial intelligence has changed the way how we think, how we act, and how we understand things. Me being a CA final student can understand IFRS 16 like a layman with just a text on ChatGPT.
Same for writing an exceptional proposal draft for a client and even to ask for a joke of the day to help your boss smile.
See, a lot to be done by just one application. Now wonder what further can be achieved by enhancing our potential.
So, are you all ready to enter the era of digitalization?
Some energy. Are you ready? So, are you ready to enter the era of digitalization? Yes. Well, get excited because here comes the charismatic, the informative, and the mentor of our young students for sharing some insights about the future of taxation, accounting, and audit profession in the digital era.
Mr. Zishan Ajaz is not only a council member of ICAP, but also a member of Lahore Tax Bar and Alternative Dispute Resolution Committee. He has professional experience of over 20 years and possesses extensive knowledge of handling corporate and taxation affairs for a diverse portfolio of national and international clients.
Let's greet with a resounding round of applause for managing partner at KPMG, Mr. Zishan Ijaz.
I think everybody can hear me. First of all, thank you very much. You were talking about two idiots. I'm left alone now. Anyhow, it's great to have so many young people all around. And frankly speaking, when you talk about technology and everything, I really mean it. You talk about last 20 years, frankly speaking, we were the generation who actually saw technology coming in. And then we saw that transforming. And now the generation which is sitting in front of me, frankly speaking, this is going to change the world. So, talking about the topic, when you talk about the era of digitalization, you say there are a lot of rumors about that. And a lot of things we talk about that we are living in a world which is what do you call it, technology and techno panic. What is that actually? This is what we call where we are excited as well as we are fearful that what's going to happen actually. And that's where, mind it, that's where the real thing comes in. The important point is we are talking about, what do you call it, fourth industrial revolution. So the question is, what is coming? The fear of unknown is there. But the most important part is, all said and done, we have been hearing about a lot of things that perhaps 40% of the jobs are going to be redundant, perhaps in next 10 or 15 years. Then we say perhaps many of the occupations are going to be automized. But when you talk on the ground, actually, the fact as laid down by McKinsey is that only 5% of the occupations are going to be automized. When you deeply go into that, out of that 40% or 5% actually, only half of those professions or the jobs are going to be automized. Half of those professions. So the important point is, you're talking about even half of those professions to be automized up till 2065. So yes, the fear is there, but you need to understand what's coming. It's not that scenario that you go into your shell and think that it's going to be a disaster and our profession is going to be vanished from this world. This is not going to happen. Some of the jobs definitely might be replaced, but there would be new jobs coming in for the same professional people. Talking about others, there might be, if you talk about so the question which leads us is that when are we going to start the transformation journey? That's the starting point. We need to start that. This happened in 90s. This happens before that. Now in the era of ChatGPT, if we are going to say that we are going to stop it, this is not going to happen. This is a ground reality, which is going to be there no matter what you do. You need to understand how to come up to that expectation level and then move on forward, adopting that change and making yourself useful for that thing. Coming to the points, my colleagues, the panelists, they are all fabulous technology experts. I'm nowhere near them. But when you talk about the different technology revolutions which is coming, which has already been there, number one is obviously the artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? It is basically, as rightly summarized by one of the panelists, it is actually to create human-like intelligence. That's the fact. Number two, robotics, automation, programming, basically. This is, you just need to understand what it is actually. If you summarize it, it is basically a complicated Excel spreadsheet with macros in it, and that's it, basically. Then you move on to data analytics. What is it? It is simply, it is just analyzing everything and a huge data to reach at whatever analytic conclusions you have been doing. One of the panelists rightly said that manually everybody was doing that. Huge data. And then actually, perhaps they were moving on towards some sort of sample basis. But because of data analytics, you will be doing perhaps 100% of the data and reaching at certain conclusion. Then you move into machine learning. That's another refined form of analysis, which helps you reach conclusion and making decision, basically, based on the data available with that. Moving forward, another interesting area is natural language programming, I think. That's what is it basically. It is basically enabling computer to understand human voice. I hope I'm right. Exactly. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Then we move on to, what do you call it? There are drones technology, that's there. We have been talking about blockchain, which is again moving towards related to our profession, wherein enabling us to analyze huge data in a very short span of time, reaching conclusions, basically. All these different technologies and many more, they are here and they will be there. They will be transformed. So the question is, what are we going to do? The important thing is, what should we do? We should understand one basic thing. When you talk about taxation, when you talk about auditing, when you talk about accounting, the future which I look of all those functions are basically, you need to have the team who will be the data enablers or the technology enablers, not the data enablers. It would be technology enablers. They will be responsible for technical side. They will make those technology and different softwares available for you. Then come data analytics experts. What's their job? Their job is to analyze and come up with the processes, refine them, what's happening in the world, and advise the people in the organization that what's happening and what is the way forward for that. Third, the users. That's where we come in, actually. All those positions there, the function as a whole, whether it's tax, whether it's audit, whether it's accounting. Users, we are there and we will be there. But we will be working with the enablers of technology, the team number 1, and the team number 2, who will be data analytics experts. We will be the team number 3 as users of that particular technology. Yes, Mohsen rightly said, the important point is we need to upscale our technology, what do you say, information and knowledge, so that at least we will be in a position to carry forward our tasks. I remember a couple of years back, I was in Bahrain. I have shared that with a few of my colleagues. That actually changed the thought process which related to this particular topic. One of a chartered accountant, he was there, he was delivering a speech, and the whole day was about disruption from technology. And this guy, perhaps in the second half, he came in and he just changed the way you think about things. He said, yes, it is disruption, but whenever there is a disruption, it's up to you, whether delay it to an extent to make it a disruption or you change it into an opportunity. He explained a very basic language, which I think Mohsen also laid down, that when you talk about chartered accountants, you need to understand we are the people who know or have the basic idea what accounting, auditing, or taxation is. Then there is another team who is technically sound, and they are techies. As far as technology people are concerned, with all due respect, but with lesser knowledge of accounting and taxation and these laws, they can definitely come up to a level, but practically they might not be running the organization as CFOs, Director of Finance, Financial Controller, Audit Partners, tax specialists. So ultimately, the objective of that person was that you need to upscale. You already have that basic knowledge of particular law. So you coupling up with that particular information with the technology and having a technical team working with you, we should understand we can do miracles, actually. That's the transformation we need. And if we manage to do that, frankly speaking, I mean, there is no stopping, actually. This is the point we need to understand. Back in 90s, computer aaya, everybody is saying jobs would be done. People like me, हमें ये भी नहीं पता था कि enter करके नीचे raw में कैसे जाना है. ठीक है? But we transformed. We understood what's happening. Computer, laptop, now we are talking about different technologies, but we are here. And we have people like I'm sorry, I'm again giving example of Mohsen, but he is a chartered accountant, delivering technology-related engagements. So that's a transformation. That's a type of transformation we need. So what is the way forward? What is the, when you talk about, 1 minute. Okay. So when we talk about what's moving forward, we need to understand, wrapping up that particular thing, what is the trait we need to have in ourselves? Number one, we need to have a growth mindset. We need to understand what are the problems, and we should not be analyzing those problems and complications as a failure. Instead, transform it into an opportunity. Then there is creativity. We should be open to new ideas, out-of-box thinkings. These are very important points. Number three, we should be open to the change. This is happening, and we should be accepting that. Lastly, digital literacy. Mind it. Without this and all those features, you are nowhere. Ultimately, you'll have to have some literacy as far as technology is concerned. If you can manage all those four things, ultimately, you need to understand that it's adaptability. It's not a replacement. It's not a revolution, it's evolution. So with all those things in mind, I seriously don't see this profession, taxation, accounting, auditing, winding up. This would be transforming. So, I mean, keep our fingers crossed. Let's keep ourselves focused. I don't think it's something, it's called disruption. It's an opportunity. And at this time, we should all be ready to embrace that with a welcome point. Thank you very much.
The fear of unknown is here. If 40% of the jobs are going to be replaced, then 140 more jobs will be created with transformation. Give it up once more for the man of the hour, the wonderful Zishan Ijaz.
When you're talking about success and career, is it always money that matters, or is it something else?
It reminds me of a few verses by Allama Iqbal. ए तायरे लाहूती उस रिस्क से मौत अच्छी, ए तायरे लाहूती उस रिस्क से मौत अच्छी, जिस रिस्क से आती हो परवाज में कोताही.
Fellow students, to get all those enhancing human potential, transforming lives, and achieving
serve humanity, as he has founded an association of 130 welfare trusts to coordinate humanity service efforts at an organized platform. He also founded Taba Youth Force, comprising students from various colleges and universities as main humanity service workforce. Furthermore, being the lifetime nominated chairman of AR Foundation working on theology and Nemul Nasir Welfare Trust. He is the chairman AM99 Group, Gwadar Club and 99 Beach Resort. He is an inspirational mentor, expert on business promotion and international affairs.
He will be joining us online all the way from Gwadar. Please welcome Sir Asif Mahmood.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good evening, everybody.
Facing a little bit
तो
technical
मैं अपनी
difficulty.
बात का आगाज कुछ
Yes, we have
मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Sir Asif Mahmood, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Bismillah. I'm fine, boss. I'll just take very less time क्योंकि आपकी काफी सेशन हो रहे हैं तो मैं ज्यादा नहीं बोर करूंगा आपको. तो मैंने जस्ट कुछ अपना एक्सपीरियंस ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम जो मैंने लर्न किया है वो मैं बस आपको शेयर करना चाहूंगा इफ समबडी कैन बेनिफिट. सबसे पहले जो टॉपिक दिया गया था इनहांसिंग ह्यूमन पोटेंशियल और इसकी जो है कैसे अचीव करना है एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी सक्सेस को. इसमें देयर आर टू टॉपिक्स in this. First is how to enhance human potential, and second is achieve exceptional success so our lives are transformed better. This is the aim or the ultimate goal. So how can we enhance human potential? First thing is motivation and passion. If a person is not job satisfied, then he or she will not give a good output. So one has to be a job satisfied. His motivation has to be very, very clear. His goal has to be very, very clear. Then aim should be very big. He has to have or she has to have a bigger aim, not only personal. And one has to rise from the personal gains. Because once you rise from the personal gain, then you become a self-help person and you can deliver better. Otherwise, one keeps on bothering only about her or himself. Then we have to inculcate teamwork as it creates coordinated effort, which is a force multiplier. United we stand, divided we fall. Whether it's a business or anything, unity is a strength. Then the progress. Step by step, gradually we have to make progress, and we don't have to be at the same time over ambitious. Because once a person becomes or an organization becomes over ambitious, they tend to commit mistakes, blunders, and ultimately they are fruitless. We have to choose a role model. I also carried out study, though I was not into business, neither my family was in business. So I chose a role model. That who could be my role model, which could guide me and give me the golden principles on which I should base my business and my humanity service and everything. And I studied almost all the prophets that I knew, all the successful persons of other theology and religions. But I found, even being impartial, I found that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was a good business person, the best business person also. So I found out some business rules. There are 7 business rules that I found out. First is truthfulness, because as telling lie is the biggest sin as per him. So even exaggeration or boasting about your product is taken as a lie. So we have to be truthful. Then being honest. Honesty is very broad term, and it's known as honesty is the best policy. So we have to be honest with our goal, our aim, our organization, and even our client. So we give them a true picture. Then first we have to tell the demerits of a product before telling the merit. For example, we have to, unless we practice, we can't really get success. Just words are poor assurances, but the actions, they are strong. So what I did, I was very young. I had to sell a motorbike. So the few buyers, they came and they asked me its price. I said, no, first you analyze it. It's repainted and it has some these defects. And one of them laughed and he said, Does this motorbike have some good point also? I said you drive it and you find if it has some good point. That person drove that motorbike and came to me and he said, I had in my mind to give you, it's a very old time story. He told me that I had to plan to give you 10,000 for this bike, but I'm giving you 12,000 because you told and you told the demerits. So these are rules that I'm mentioning. All are on the based on the sayings of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that the person who's once you do a business, you must be generous because you then get the blessings of Allah. So we have to be generous in business deals. Instead of we squeeze other person and we other party we squeeze and we just bother about our own benefit. Then we have to care for the profit of the other person also. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that khairin nas man yanfa'un nas. The best human among you is that he cares for the profit of the benefit of the others. Then greed is a curse in business, in anything. So if you follow a greed, you also again land up in some trouble. Then we have to be progressive with contentment. It means progressive with content means whatever you have, first be content on that. Instead of developing jealousies for the others, your competitors, best is be progressive with contentment that you are contented on yourself. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that if your today is not better than yesterday, then you are in loss. It means we have to get progressive. We have to be progressive in every way so that we attain our ultimate goal. So there, I would say, I would just not take long, just come to my final words. What is a success? Success has dimensions. One dimension is related to the physical benefits, and the other is related to the metaphysical. That's your conscious, your inner self. So in my view, all the times you don't get physical benefits, but the inner benefit that comes through your heart and through your conscience is bigger many times than your physical benefits. I'll just quote an example. In COVID, I heard that even the bigger companies, they downsized their employees and they were jobless. Alhamdulillah, I didn't fire anybody from job. Rather, we employed the persons, those who were jobless. So this thing is a success. So we have to see which success matters to us. Second, example is better than precept. I will conclude these remarks that I am an example of a successful business person. Alhamdulillah, in very short time, my company has risen, and we have our projects in other cities also. And Alhamdulillah, I would attribute and I would just dedicate my success to the Muslims' prophet, my prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who from all dimensions is the most perfect human, was the best business person, and I followed his principles, and I motivate people that follow his principles because even he has been declared the most influential personality even by the non-Muslims. So these are my words, and I wish you all the best for your assignments. And if you can benefit from these principles and from my research and my practical experience, so anybody can get benefit. Allah bless you.
The best among of you is the one who takes care of others. We are deeply grateful for this masterclass of practical tips.
Now it's time for the first giveaway session. But don't worry, we're going to have it after the tea because we can't wait the tea. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves. We are about to introduce a moment so epic, so crucial to our collective survival, it deserves a drum roll. Management, please, can you have a drum roll? We can have it as a drum roll. So get ready for the highlight of the day, the legendary tea break.
Now we have the drum roll, so you can continue, Maz.
So get ready for the highlight of the day, the legendary tea break.
But hold on, folks, because this tea break isn't just about sipping tea. It's about seizing the opportunity to network, exchange ideas, and regain your energy for the upcoming amazing sessions.
So, with that said, get ready to dash to the refreshment area like your next big idea depends on it.
We will resume our session at 5:30. See you all on time.
Tea break starts now. Thank you.